Hello everyone, thank you for being with me today. I've got two items that we're going to go over, and the first one that I want to talk about is a murder, a cold-blooded murder of a 39-year-old mother by her 17-year-old son. And it's not just a singular murder, but as we got into the investigation, we found that about a year and a half, maybe a year and 8 months, 9 months earlier, he murdered his father in Oklahoma. So let me tell you about this. It all started on September the 8th, which was this last Sunday, when we got a 911 call from Collin Griffith, who's 17 years of age. And here's what he said. He said he and his mother had a very long fight, and she fell on a knife and killed herself. And she's bleeding from the neck. He didn't say she killed herself, said he's bleeding from the neck. So our 911 operators appropriately were giving them instructions on how to do life-saving techniques. When the deputies arrived, he met the deputies outside, and he was calm, cool, collected, not upset, and he had blood on him. What we found inside was this knife. This knife is 12 inches long, and of the 12 inches, 8 inches of that is the blade. So he's saying that his mother fell on this knife. We started our investigation at that point. The next morning at the medical examiner's office and the autopsy, the medical examiner said it is not reasonable or plausible that she died the way that he said she did. Just didn't happen. There were witnesses outside the mobile home that actually saw Collin drag his mother into the house by the hair on her head. Collin is about 6 foot and 160 pounds. So an investigation started. This residence was at 77 Hewlett Drive, which is Auburndale, and it's called the Hamptons. It's a 55 and over community. And where it occurred was at Collin's grandmother's house. Collin's grandmother at the time was not there. She has another home in the Keys, and that's where she was. But let me go through some details, because as we start to peel back the layer of this onion, we find out that this is not just a singular event with Collin stabbing his mother in the neck and ultimately killing her. Here's what we found, and follow me as I read a timeline to you. On February 14th, 2023, on Valentine's Day, in Lincoln County, Oklahoma. There's a Lincoln County, Nebraska too. In Lincoln County, Oklahoma, Collin said that his dad pulled a knife on him, and he shot and killed his dad. That's right. His father was named Charles. He shot him once in the chest and once in the head, and he claimed self-defense. The Lincoln County Sheriff's Office and the Oklahoma State Bureau of Investigations charged Collin with murder in the first degree. They dropped the charges less than a month later. They said they could not disprove Collin's assertion of self-defense. So he was released. Well, when he was released, in March of 23, just barely a month after the original murder of his father, he came to Charlotte County, Florida, to live with his mother. And when he came to live with his mother, Catherine Griffith, who was 39, you would think things would be better. He would be really, really lucky that, hey, this was a self-defense and I'm here with Mom. But 6 months later, guess what happened? He's Baker acted. So it's September, and as he's getting out of the original Baker Act, he makes a statement that, well, I'll kill myself, or I'll kill my mother by shooting or stabbing her. Charlotte County re-Baker Acts him the same exact day. They keep him 3 more days. Now we're 2 months later. This is November 2023. Collin then is arrested for domestic violence on his mother. And the reason he battered his mother is because she was disciplining him and took his video game privileges away. So he beat up his mother. He pushed her to the ground and he stomped on her. The grandmother was there and witnessed this. Collin said it was self-defense. She made me do it. The grandmother said, no, no, no. Your mother did not provoke this at all. You simply were being disciplined and made to give up your game because of failure to carry out what you should, empty the garbage, wash the dishes, whatever they gave him to do. He claims self-defense when he stomped his mama, but he went to jail anyway. 3 months later, 12th of February in 2024, he has an argument with his mother, and he runs away from Charlotte County and comes back to Auburndale to his grandmother's house. Now, his grandmother's not there. And we got involved in this on the 12th of February, and the mother said, and the grandmother said, hey, we don't feel safe with him around. So our deputies who found him up here as a missing persons reported in Charlotte County turned him over to DCF. 2 days later, on the 14th of February, the anniversary of him killing his dad a year ago, he's reunited with his mother by DCF. Collin made the statement that I don't want to go home. I'll use any force necessary to avoid it, to include killing my mother. So that's the second time he threatened to kill his mother. 2 weeks later, so they didn't make him go home on the 14th, but about 2 weeks later, in March 2024, they reunite Collin with his mother again. Everybody's calmed down. Now in May of 2024, Collin graduated from an alternative high school in Charlotte County and began attending community college. Now let's advance 4 months later to September the 6th. Collin has an argument about home chores, and he flees from his mother's house again and comes up to his grandmother's house. Grandmother's not there. She's in the Keys. So then Mom lets the event calm down, and she tells her son, hey, you need to come home. And she asks him to come home and face his responsibility. Collin says, I'm not coming back home. That was September the 7th. So now we're to the fateful day on September 8th. Mom drives up here to Auburndale from Charlotte County. She arrives at 4 o'clock. At about 4:30, witnesses and neighbors see Collin and Mom arguing outside, and Collin grabs his mother by the hair and drags her into the house. Just about 2 hours later, that's when we receive a 911 call where Collin said, I've had a very, very long fight with Mom, and she fell on a knife and she's bleeding from the neck. Our investigation clearly and unequivocally shows that that circumstance did not occur like that. In fact, he used similar language to when he made the 911 call, 18 or 20 months earlier, when he shot and killed his father. It's important to understand, when you look at this, you see a kid. When I look at him, I see a psychopath. I see totally erratic behavior, to the point that he's already, at 17 years of age, shot and killed his father and got away with it, and stabbed his mother in the neck so hard that the knife went all the way through and was to the back of her neck, and she died there. He's being charged with first-degree murder, obviously, and we're asking the state attorney's office, it's their decision, but our state attorney's office is the greatest, to prosecute him as an adult. We've also wrapped back around with the prosecutors, the DA's office, as they call them in Oklahoma, and they said, if we develop information during this investigation that allows them, they will reopen the murder investigation in Oklahoma and potentially charge him out there. But at this time, they did not have sufficient information to charge him with murder. The unfortunate thing was, now he's killed 2 people and killed his mother and father, and I can assure you, beyond and to the exclusion of every reasonable doubt, based upon his conduct, had he gone to live with his grandmother at the end of this and she crossed him, she would be next. He's violent. He's dangerous. He showed zero remorse. Zero remorse when he was being interviewed. In fact, when we attempted the interview, he met the original deputy in the front yard. And he didn't say, Mom's in here, Mom's bleeding to death, Mom needs help. He looked the deputy in the eye and says, I know my rights, I want an attorney. Zero emotion about, hurry up, help Mom, she's bleeding, she's got a problem. He is a dangerous human being. And we have him securely locked up, and we are working with the state attorney's office. We're putting the rest of the investigation together. We have began to talk to some of the family, which has confirmed that he is a dangerous person. Before I go to the second event, are there any questions?
Sure. Do you think the system failed him, that he should have never been out? I mean, after killing his father.
Well, so when you look at this and you see how violent and how dangerous he is, it makes you wonder to what extent and what depth of investigation was done, because they released him from that murder charge that was lodged apparently within a month or so, because they were shipping him to his mother that quick. Now, did they wrap it up in that short period of time, or did they just say, hey, take him home, and notified the family later that we're not going to charge him? I don't know. But it's important to be accountable and responsible for your own actions. My question is, was there anything else that could have been done? Because had Oklahoma been able to act, Catherine would be alive and well today. But because she took him and tried to do like a mother should do and take care of him, she's now dead. Everybody that's special, should be special to him in his life, is dead when they crossed him.
Is there any history of abuse?
We're looking through that now to see what what his family history there may be.
Sheriff, I noticed he has a charge of violation of no contact order. Who filed that, or who's that?
We're working through the back pages now. Obviously, he's been involved with DCF in Oklahoma, if for no other reason, from the murder. He was involved with DCF here. We've been putting together our criminal case here. We will go through the back pages of him and any other interactions he's had with the system to try to determine everything that we can. But what we know for sure is he's violent and he's dangerous and he'll kill you because he's done that on 2 occasions. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I noticed that the witnesses say they saw him outside at 4:30 with the fight. The 911 call was at 6 p.m. Is there a suspicion he killed his mother much earlier, and then what time?
We are also investigating that. As you know, with these death investigations, the medical examiner cannot narrow down the frame to a 15-minute period. But certainly there are telltale signs that we are working through. So we looked inside the house. He said there was a protracted fight, and the home is neat and clean and no evidence of any kind of a large fight or a long fight, as he said.
Kitchen knife?
It's a kitchen knife from the house.
People might hear you say DCF was involved and, he was released. Is there anything you want to say about the system in Florida, the DCF system? Or?
Do you know, DCF has an impossible job because all of society's wayward children and problem children and hot action events come to their lap. What did they know when? I don't know. That's part of the background investigation. I'm certainly not in a position, nor do I have an inclination to blame DCF at this point in the investigation. He was being intensely watched by the Charlotte County Sheriff's Office as a part of one of their programs down there. They had often contact with him and did a remarkable job keeping up with him. But he was not under any criminal charges at all. It was simply that he'd been Baker Act and he had made verbal threats, and a verbal threat in and of itself, until you have the ability to carry it out and the means and a lot of legal posturing, you can't just arrest people. And Mom came back up here to get him to, once again, she was angry. She needed a cooling off period for a time, and then she wanted him back down there so she could appropriately deal with him. So there's still a lot of background and a lot of DCF stuff between Oklahoma and Florida that we're looking through. But listen, when you finish all of this, what I call sociological positioning, nothing gives you the right to unilaterally stab your mother and kill her. And I'm not convinced, based upon what I know now Oklahoma didn't know this then, there were no witnesses to him shooting his dad. I'm not sure now that he didn't set his dad up to murder him. We don't know that. It's under investigation, and certainly my prayer is if somebody knows something that can help prosecute him in Oklahoma that was missed for whatever reason, they come forward.